I came dragging into the house just as the sun set. It was Friday. I'd been in the woods for a whole week, and it made me look back on my time with the Fringe crew and feel nostalgic. We had worked hard on the Fringes, or so I had thought, but the work we did in the deep woods was truly exhausting. We had been meeting quotas, but it was a near thing the last few days. We'd been fresh on Monday and Tuesday, but by Wednesday, many of us were beginning to drag. By Friday, it was all we could do to keep on our feet, and when Curly asked who wanted to come in for overtime this weekend, not a single hand went up. "Oh, come on now, not a one of you?" he chastised, clicking his tongue. "I thought better of my new crew. I get it, this work's a little harder than cutting on the outskirts, but you will all have to toughen up if you want to make it. I'll give you a pass this week, but I want at least a few of you to volunteer next week." Everyone sighed happily, afraid that he would make us volunteer, and then we all shuffled off to our vehicles and headed home. The phone rang just as I had dropped into the easy chair, and I grumbled as I got back up again. I wasn't expecting any calls, but as I checked the caller ID, I saw that it was the Bremen house. I figured it was Terry, since the other residents rarely called me, but as I picked up the phone and said hello, I realized I'd been wrong. "Well, hello, Jeff," said Susan, sounding amused. "Glad I caught you." "Hey, Susan," I said, leaning on the end table and smiling despite myself. "To what do I owe the pleasure?" I had honestly expected it would be her uncle. He would want to know about the map of the deep woods I was making. He would want to know what I had seen out there. Above all else, he would want to know about the foresters and how they acted out there. He'd be full of questions, but I suppose he didn't have much use for me at the moment. Instead, it was his niece. "Well, about a week ago, you promised to take me to the movies, as I remember." She was right, of course. We had gone to see a movie at the Magic Lantern on Sunday, something that we hadn't done in quite a while, and I had thought of little else that night than her, and her arm wrapped around mine, with her head on my shoulder. The movie had been good, something about ghosts or something, but it was hard to concentrate with Susan so close. We had said we would go to the movies again on my next off day, and it appeared that tomorrow was that day. Ah, yes, I did say that, didn't I? So, are we going to go back to the Magic Lantern, or did you want to head up to the Megaplex in Aston? "The Lantern, of course," she said, sounding affronted. "They're showing a DiCaprio movie, and I want to see it." I rolled my eyes. She did love pretty boy movies. Sounds like I should have taken Curly up on his offer of overtime, because it sounds like you want to drag me to a chick flick. "Oh, no," she assured me. "This one's a creepy pick. It's a remake of Shutter Island. Don't worry, you'll love it." "Sounds great. What time should I pick you up?" I said, swapping hands as Dad came in with his bag and his lunch pail. "Let's say 1:30. It starts at 2 and ends right around 4:30. We can go get something to eat, have a few laughs, and both make it home before sunset so none of our mothers worry. Sound good, handsome?" "Sounds great. I'll see you then." "Till then," she said, and as we both hung up, I noticed my dad was smiling at me as he stood with a raised eyebrow. "What?" I asked, taking a seat in the chair. "Seeing Susan tomorrow?" he asked, as he hung his gear up and sat down his lunchbox. "I had planned on it, yes." Dad laughed. "I'm glad to see you and her came back together. She's a good girl, despite what a pill her mother is." I snorted. "You're just saying that because you like her dad." "That is true. Despite his love of the Patriots, he's a good fellow, and I like Susan, too. I think you could do much worse." For a moment, I allowed myself to think about that. If I picked up with Susan where I left off, she'd probably be more happy to go steady again. "We could probably be married within a year if we wanted, and I could be anchored to this place forever. I could work as a lumberman, living off my military retirement and going back to school if I wanted to. I could raise some kids here, work the deep woods like my father had, and give up on my revenge against the foresters. Give up and doom the town forever. People are chains. The more you love, the more held down you are. Who had said that? I'd heard it in Terry's voice, but I couldn't remember him ever having actually said it. Whoever had said it, I couldn't marry Susan and go off into the woods without any doubts. You couldn't have kids in the game and go off with a cool head to do something that you might never come back from. We're just friends, Dad, I said, though it sounded lame to me, too. Pretty sure I've heard that one before. Who's just friends? My mother asked, coming out of the kitchen as dinner came wafting out of the little door. Our son wants us to believe that he and Susan are just friends, Dad said with a laugh. Oh, I like her, Jeff. You should make an honest woman out of her. You could do a lot worse. I shook my head. I swear, you two are as bad as everyone else. We're just spending time together. We're just friends. That's all. If you say so, dear, my mom said. And then we went to have dinner as dark settled outside. It was a little harder to sleep that night than it had been last Sunday, and my dreams were decidedly warm as I dreamed about Susan's head on my shoulder and her arm in mine. It was a nice dream, and when I woke up, I found that afternoon couldn't get here soon enough. I dithered around some, took a shower, changed clothes a few times, and finally set out for the movies. The town only had one theater, and the Magic Lantern took full advantage of the town's rules and ran movies from 9 a.m. to about an hour before sunset. In the summertime, this meant you could watch movies right up until about 7:30 most nights, and they did most of their business off school kids who were looking for something to do. They had old movies and matinees until about 1, and then the rest of the afternoon was set aside for new releases. We were over the hump now, well into spring, and it wouldn't be dark till after 6, so we could catch a bite before dark rolled in if we were quick. I pulled up to the house and found Terry on the front porch for a change. He was wearing thin, colorless shorts that my dad would have called basketball pants, and a sleeveless t-shirt that showed off his pale arms. He was reading a big old book, something he had gotten from Susan's shop, I had no doubt, and he looked up expectantly as I came up the walk. "Jeff," he said, shuffling the books so he could shake my hand, "I don't think we have any business today. If this is a social call, I really don't have anything to go on." "Well, it's a social call, but he's not here for you, Uncle Terry," said a sly voice from behind us, and I turned to find Susan standing in the doorway and smiling at me. "We have a date." I gulped. She was certainly dressed for one. She was wearing a white V-neck shirt and flirty little black skirt with leather boots on full display. She looked entirely too cute to be going out with a schlub like me, town hero or not, but I suppose, sometimes, God decides to throw you a bone. "Is that so?" Terry said, giving me a look that was decidedly suspicious. "Well, I hope you two have fun. Jeff, just let me grab my purse and I'll be ready to go." She popped back inside and Terry rounded on me. I thought I made the danger we were in pretty clear. Why exactly have you decided to involve my niece in it? I blew out a breath. "I'm not involving her in anything," I said, trying to keep the anger out of my own voice. "We're going to see a movie." He leaned his head around to see if she was coming back before pointing a finger at me. "Don't paint a target on her, boy. It's going to be bad enough for them after people find out what I've done. I don't want them hurt by whatever stuffed shirts are left." "I know what I'm—" But Susan came out about that point and asked if I was ready. I said I was, and we headed out, Terry glaring at me as we pulled away. "Are you and Uncle Terry okay?" she asked as we headed into town. "Yeah, why wouldn't we be?" "Things just felt kind of tense back there." Oh, of course, you just wanted to give me the protective uncle talk, that was all." She nodded. "Yeah, Uncle Terry's always been like a second dad to me, so that tracks. He likes you, though. So does my dad. I think Mom is the only one you have to win over now." "One miracle at a time," I said, and we both laughed. The movie theater was on Main Street, taking up a 6-storefront block, and the marquee was lit up and showing all the movies they had that day. A few people were meandering about out front, clearly waiting for the flick to start, and as we approached the booth, Susan surprised me by paying for my ticket. "It's only fair," she said. "You paid for mine last time." "Yeah, but come on. How am I supposed to protect my fragile masculinity if I don't get to pay for everything?" "You'll live somehow, handsome," she said, taking my arm as we went in. We got drinks and a big bucket of popcorn, and as we sat watching the movie, I was finding it hard to concentrate. Susan was a warm, comfortable weight against my arm, and as our hands met in the bucket with more frequency, she leaned her head against my arm too. My heart was beating a little fast now. I could smell her perfume and her shampoo, and the old, familiar warmth filled my chest. We had sat in the back many times during high school and paid for a movie we had no intention of watching. I think most of them figured that we'd get married after high school, but then I had to go and ruin it by joining the military and leaving town. "You okay?" she whispered. "Of course. Why?" "Your heart's beating pretty fast." I guess I'm just really excited," I said, trying for something a little smoother, but only managing to put my foot in my mouth. You manage to keep a cool head during an active combat zone, but you get flustered around a girl. Good to know." Just you, I think," I said, biting my lip as I thought better of it. When the movie ended, we walked out holding hands, and I suppose that it would have been the right thing to say after all. "Do you have time for a bite?" she asked. "I know you must be tired from a long week in the woods." "Of course," I told her, not wanting it to end. We hopped in my truck and went down the road to Joel's, a local steakhouse where a lot of people go for dates when they have cash. It was pricey, but not too far out of my price range. Susan raised an eyebrow, but smiled in a sultry way as I got out of the car. Someone is trying to get some brownie points. The inside was mostly booths with a few solo tables sitting in the middle, and the booths had this strange frosted glass that covered up the back of them. The lights were low, the place was very intimate, and the atmosphere was most of what you paid for. The place wasn't too busy. They had plenty of tables, and as we sat down and started looking at the menu, I saw the last two people I would have expected walk in together. Sheriff Mackenzie and Mayor Register.
You're still here. Thanks for stopping by. Dr. Plague here. Always a pleasure to see all my new and old viewers coming by for another one of my spooky tales. If you'd like to support the show, you can always take part in one of our channel offers through Fume or Aura, or you can just click on another video when they come up. I'd really appreciate it. For our newer viewers, we also have lots of playlists and other things if you'd like to get caught up. I know some of my series have been going on for quite a while. If you'd like to get my latest book, there's a link down below that'll take you to my Amazon page. Towesey Homestead just came out, so if that's something you'd like to get your hands on, go ahead and have a look down there. If you'd like a signed copy, you can go ahead and email me from my email address on the site, and I'll get with you about shipping information and ship you a signed copy. If you'd like to support the channel in a more monetary fashion, we also have membership through YouTube, and we've got a Patreon that you can get the information for in the description. We have lots of tiers and everything to suit your needs. Patrons that support on the $10 tier, that's our Ghostly Reader tier, get a book anytime I write one, signed and on their doorstep. As you may have noticed, there's a list of patrons and members on the screen, and I'd like to personally thank every one of them for taking a hand in the future of this channel. Well, that's enough for tonight. Dr. Plague, signing off. Have a wonderful evening.